So I clearly remember the last night of the big summer camp. As a high schooler and a junior higher, I had a drug problem. My family drugged me to camp every year. I didn't really want to go. I didn't really want to go. My dad was the pastor, and I was like, I don't want to go to camp. But you got to go. So we'd get up there, and the first day of camp's kind of okay, and then they start singing, and the worship is great, and then the messages. And by the time the last night of camp goes around, we are all on fire. We're just like, yes. I mean, everybody's singing yes. They could be singing, Jesus, love me. Well, yes, 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 whatever it is. We were like super into it. By the time the last campfire came around, when it was time for everybody to express, they always do the same thing. Anybody wants to share what camp has meant to you? What has the Bible camp meant to you? I want a girl raise her hands. Yes, Christine? And she'd step up and say, I just want to say I love you so much, and it means so much to me, and I know I'm going back to it, and all the girls would go, yes, yes! And they would hug her. And finally, after about 7 girls, one of the guys, he'd get up, I just want to say, I just love you guys, okay? I just love you guys, okay? And I was right there with him, man. We were all, and we would sing that last song, and if the devil showed up, we'd have killed him with our bare hands. It was like, bam! But the problem with the last night of camp was always the next day of life. Which is what brings me to those 2 precious words. So what? So we have had a rockin' week. We have praised, we have got to know people. It's been awesome. We have laughed and we have cried and we have danced and we have sung and we've heard messages that have broken our hearts. And sometimes even in youth group, we've said, dude, this is what's going on. And we've confessed and we've prayed with each other. And yes! And quietly the voice says, so what? Because the danger, at least for me, I don't know, maybe not for you, but for me it was, is anything going to be different when I get home tomorrow? Or is it going to be just like the relationships that we used to have at camp? Oh, I remember that. First day you get up there, wherever the camp is, you're talking to your friends and you go, whoa. What? The one over there, blonde. Yes. Whoa. What church is she from? I don't know, man. Wow. Well, go over there and meet her. No way. Dude, she's looking at you. Shut up. Just shut up. Yeah. By the next night, you plan, you maneuver. So at lunchtime, you're like, oh, is anybody sitting here? And you sit down and you chat and you get to know one another. And man, by the end of the next day, you are picking the names for your future children. The relationship just soof. Because that second night, you made sure that at campfire, you were sitting next to her. Because you knew the guy was going to say, all right, before we go, let's all stand up. Let's have a closing prayer and let's join hands. Oh, and the magic moment was at the end of the prayer when she didn't let go. Yeah. By the last day of camp, it is just like, she's just a one, blah, blah, blah. And then it's, okay, we got to get on our buses. No! And it's like Romeo and Juliet tearing them apart. I'll text you, I'll call you, I'll write you. She's going to get in the bus and cry all the way home. He's going to get in the bus and go, dude, a Game Boy, I haven't seen that in forever, man. That's awesome. Now, the great danger to which I speak is that our relationships that we have formed with Jesus this week, the strengthened relationships, the deepened relationship, we have listened to Jesus' BFF, his best friend, right? We have listened to John say, this is what it's all about. It's all about contrast. It's all about light and dark. It's all about, believe or, it's all about obey or, because we've done all these opposites. And he says, listen, this is what's important. And the danger is that we get home and it's kind of like a movie we watched that kind of got us all souped up, but then, let's go get pizza and we're done. And if that's the case, with all due respect, Satan will pay for this thing every year from now till Jesus comes. If he can make us think that we've done something big by showing up. Oh, let me be clear. I think what God is doing this week is extremely important. But the big moment, the big fight, the boss fight in this game is when we leave. When we head home. When the parents meet you at the church. When it's back to normal life. Because if there has been no change, so what? So what's going to move us to make that change? Whether you're 13 or 33, what's going to do it? Well, Jesus' best friend John says it has to do with the most powerful motivating force in the world. Here, you've been doing opposites all week long, so let's do opposites. I'll say a word, you tell me the opposite. Big, high, tall, love. Yeah, I know. Fear, hate's the natural answer, right? Love and hate. And John says, no, actually, the opposite of love is fear. Take a look at the text. We talked about it. You talked about it this morning, I believe. Now, I'm going to ask you guys to read the red words, okay? And give them a little punch here. Here we go. Such love has no fear, because expels all. Fear. If we were afraid, it is for fear of punishment. And this shows we have not fully experienced his and we love each other because he loved us first. Now, understand that when we say perfect love, okay, I know what's going to change me. I know what's going to enable me, it's even the discussion last night, to walk away from the porn. I know what's going to enable me to change my attitude about my parents. I know what's going to enable me to deal with my greed or my lust. I know what's going to help me to stop the cutting or to deal with the addiction. I know what it is. It is perfect love. Yes. Oh, I remember hearing and reading that verse and thinking, okay, I'm going to love perfectly. I'm going to have perfect love. Yeah, that's what I am going to do. And I was so messed up because I have 3 kids. I have 3 boys. This is embarrassing. They're all old enough. They're all married, okay? And my love has never been perfect. There were days I felt so awful because I was like, oh God, I just want to love you perfectly. I just want to love you perfectly because I thought that's what the verse was about. I thought the verse was about us experiencing perfect love. Well, of course it's not our love. Oh man. My love, if you graph it, it just goes like this. Even for my children. Oh, I'll tell you this one fast. My youngest son, Spencer, when he was in junior high school, had a problem. And his problem was that he would not go to bed on time because he had fallen in love with reading. Okay? I know, it's not like one of those problems that you make a movie out of. Child loves reading so much, parents don't know what to do. But anyway, you need to understand that he had gotten hooked on, and I forget what series, whether it was a Potter series or what series it was, but he'd gotten hooked on books, which you love, right? Except he could not put it down. I'd walk by his room at midnight because I'm up and the light's on. And I throw open the door, and he's like trying to fake, you know? I'm like, really? Really? Now, the reason I really cared was because we started getting notes from his teacher. Spencer fell asleep in algebra class today, twice. Maybe you should make sure that you're not keeping him up at late. And I'm like, really? And of course, because I'm a minister in the town, they all start with, "Dear Pastor." I'm like, ooh, so I got to admit, this embarrassed and frustrated me. So I had to talk with Spence. I said, buddy, let me make it clear. 11 o'clock, okay, 11 o'clock is lights out, nothing else. If I come by your room and your lights are on and it's after 11 o'clock, you are dead meat. Do you understand? Yeah, Dad, yeah. I mean, we started taking his books. We were like the Taliban. We will take these from you, you know? I mean, we would take his books away. The poor child had no books. And then he would sneak them. He'd borrow them from friends, like contraband, you know, like cocaine. He'd sneak it home. And then he'd stick it under his bed so we wouldn't know. And then at night, he'd get it out. So one night, it is 2:30. You say, what are you doing up at 2:30? When you get to be a certain age, you'll know. So at 2:30, I'm coming back from the bathroom, and I see the light under my son's door. And I'm like, oh, no way. So the reading Nazi comes down the hall, and I am poised. I throw open the door. He doesn't even move. He's got the flashlight on the book. He doesn't even move. And I'm like, whoa! And I take a step, and I realize he's asleep. He fell asleep reading. I walk over there thinking, and then I see what the book is. Spencer was getting ready to go on his first mission trip, and this was his mission journal. And he had been reading scripture and then copying it. And I'm like, oh. I mean, this is like every parent's dream. I found my kid with a book. Really? What? The Bible. You know? And I'm just like, oh. And I got down on my knee. I'm not joking. I got down on my knees and I said, Lord, thank you. Thank you for his mom who has set a great example for him. And thank you for his Bible class teacher. And thank you for his youth pastor. And thank you for Jesus. And I was just like, I mean, my heart, I could not have loved that child more at that instant. I was so thankful. And I took the book, a little journal, and I folded it up, and then I reached over and got his old glasses. But when I took his glasses off him, they scraped his ear, and so he woke up. He's like, Dad, and I'm like, oh, hey, bud, don't go to bed with your glasses on, man. You know, Mom says you bend them up. She's got to go back to Costco and get them fixed. Don't do that, you know. And he goes, oh, okay. And I said, you shouldn't be reading. I love you. You know, good night. I walk up, turn off the light. Before I can get out the room, in the darkness, I hear, hey, Dad. Yeah, buddy. Could you run down and get me a glass of water? Could I run down? Just run down there and get you a glass? Would you like some chocolate cake as well? It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm thinking all this. And I said, no, I'm not going to run down. Oh, come on, Dad, just go get me some water. I turned the light on. I said, oh, no. It's 2:30 a.m. You are supposed to be asleep. Do you realize? That's it. Tomorrow morning, I'm getting you up at 5 o'clock. You can drink all the water that you want because you are going to be awake when that bus comes and you are not going to be. Wait a minute. What happened? 1 minute, I'll give the kid my lungs. This minute, I won't give him a glass of water. What's wrong with this picture? It's because our love, everybody say, I get this. Our love, you know, one day your mom is like, so sweet, I love you. And hey, Mom, can I go? No, you're not going. She is so mean. I mean, it's just like boom, 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 like this. I mean, let's be real. One day you meet some guy at school, he is awesome. But then 2 days later, oh, he's a jerk. Never mind. It's just boom, 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 boom. The same thing happens with Jesus, is we're like, Jesus, yes, I love you. I'm here at CIY, great. And then I get off the bus and a day later, somebody is telling a filthy joke. And I'm just laughing with the best of them. Or somebody says, hey man, I got a video you have to see. My parents, you don't even know I've got this. And I'm like, I'm right there. What's going on? The bullying that goes on when somebody's texting and I'm ha-ha-haing when I know that somebody's hurting over that. So what's the answer? Well, the answer is, your love and my love will never be perfect. Can I get a, oh yeah. But the best friend of Jesus says about real love. Now remember, he's already told us that fear can make you loveless, but love can make you fearless. Fear can cause you not to love because you're afraid to tell the truth. You're afraid to be kind. You're afraid. But man, if we love, he says it can take out the fear. What's the love? It's not our love. Let's read one more text. Put it up here. One after that, if you would, where he says, we know what real love is because, say it with me, Jesus gave up his life for us. So we ought also to. That's the perfect love, gang. That's the gold standard. I wonder when John wrote that, if he remembered the night. Yeah, it was kind of a last night at Jesus camp. Only for them, they had no clue. Nobody said, this is the last night. Well, sort of. Jesus did. In the 13th chapter of the book of John, this same guy writes, and he says, we were all there having dinner, and it was Passover, and so it's a big celebration. It's awesome. We love Jesus. We followed him for 3 years. Yes. And all of a sudden, Jesus says, can I get everybody's attention? My little children, I will be with you only a little longer. And then, even as I told the Jews, I'll tell you where I'm going. You can't come. Okay, you need to know that at this point, they all went, what? What? They'd spent the last 3 years of their life doing this. Jesus here, me here. Jesus here, me here. It's called being a disciple, a follower. They just followed him around. They just watched what he did. Jesus was like their dad, uncle, mother, father, everything rolled into one because they were like, I want to be just like you. He was the coach of coach and the mentor of mentors and the Lord of lords and the King of kings. And they're all right there. And all of a sudden, with no warning, he says, okay, I'm peacing out. Bye. And they're like, whoa, 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 what? Now, Jesus goes right on. I love this in the text. Jesus just goes right on to tell them the one thing he wants them to remember when he's gone. He says, a new command I give you, love one another as I've loved you. So you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you're my disciples if you what? Love one. Go ahead and put that text up there. Love one another. Let's try this one. Read the red. Love one another. So you must. By this everybody will know that you're my disciples if you. So here is this intense, super important line that Jesus gives them. And the next thing in Scripture is Peter goes, and Jesus says, yes, Peter, where are you going? It sounds like a kid, you know what I mean? Do you remember the first time your mom and dad went away for the weekend and they were all excited because they were leaving you and your little sister or little brother at home? It's like, okay, Grandpa and Grandma are here and they're going to stay with you for the weekend because we are going away. What? If you're a little kid, what do you say? I want to go with you, and they're like, no, you're staying. That's why we're going, because we're going to go have an anniversary weekend together. And then if you're a bigger kid, you go, where are you going? Well, Mom and I are we're going away for 4 days. Where are you going? We're going to Anaheim in California. Wait a minute. Are you going to Disneyland? Well, buddy, it really doesn't matter where we're going because you're staying here with Grandpa. And I want to go. Peter goes, where are you going? And he says, well, Peter, where I'm going, you can't come. I want to go. Why can't I come? Peter thinks he's going to Disneyland. Jesus is going to the cross, right? Peter's like, can I go? And Jesus says, oh, dude, you do not understand this at all. So let's back up and say it again. Here's the new command. Here's the big piece of information. If you miss everything else, get this. Love one another. Everybody say it with me. Love one another. Turn to the person next to you and say, love one another. Tell the person on the other side, love one another. Turn around, awkward. Tell the person behind you you don't know. Love one another. And now I want you to do your hand like this. Do your hand like this. Then do your hand like this. Okay? Can you do it like this? You make kind of a little channel, and I want you to take the little channel, and I want you to put one end right up on your ear like this, and then bring the other end to your mouth, and then I want you to whisper, love one another. Yes. 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 Some are still like, mine doesn't work. I don't know what's wrong. Jesus explained it to him later. He's like, you're talking to yourself. That's what it is. Jesus says, guys, if you do this, everybody in the world is going to stop and stare and go, whoa, you must know Jesus because I see the way you care about people. If you do this, the world will know that I've sent you. Now, the danger is that many of us as Christians think that's what we did the last 4 days. Yes, Jesus, we love Jesus, reckless love, oh, the never-ending, overwhelming. Right, it's going awesome. I love that song. Danger that we think just singing it is loving, or just saying it is loving. Which is why, once again, Jesus' best friend says this. He says, if someone has money enough to live well, sees a brother or sister in need, but doesn't show compassion, another word for love, how can God's love be in that person? Dear children, let us not merely what? Say that we love each other. Let us what? Show the truth by our actions. So here's the so what. Jesus says, I want you to love each other like I've loved you. I want you to love the world like I've loved you. I want you to go out basically and be me. I want you to be me at your high school. I want you to be me on your soccer team. I want you to be me at the place where you're working this summer. Now, okay, these next few moments will be just a little difficult. I want you to know I love you, but I love you, and so I got to tell you this. Some of us will get on a plane or a bus. We'll go on a mission trip to another city or another state or another country, and we will serve, and we will paint houses, and we will be nice, and we will help people. But we won't do it across the street from our house. Some of us will go and tell people in Africa about Jesus, or tell people in Mexico about Jesus, or go door knock a state over, but I won't invite the kid that's in my chemistry class to church. Some of us will go and serve the needy because our youth group is going to do it, but it never occurs to me to serve my mom or my dad. Now listen, I get this because this is like right here. This is all the church stuff. This is we are loving people. And Jesus says, maybe less singing and more doing. Maybe less shouting and more serving. Because that's what's going to cause the world to say, whoa, I need to know what's going on. It's not going to be because they come in and hear us singing and go, dude, yes, I want that. No, you can get that at a concert. Although singing is wonderful and singing is awesome. But dude, anybody can come in and sing. The question is, when I stop singing and I go out, do I start living out the words I'm singing? That's the big challenge. Jesus said, love one another. John says, don't just do it with words, do it with action. Let me put it this way. Born and raised in California, and so the word earthquake is something that I've grown up with all my life. I lived out of California for a while in North Carolina, and people would ask me about earthquakes. Man, what's it like to be in an earthquake? What's it like to be in an earthquake? And I said, well, number one, you don't get warning. Back there, they give you warning. There's going to be a tornado, probably, and everybody freaks out and runs and buys butter and milk at Walmart, and you store it up. Or some people even fill up their bathtubs with water because they're afraid that a hurricane will come through and knock out the power, which has happened. In California, there's no tomorrow afternoon, probably an earthquake. That's not the way it happens. It happens that all of a sudden, out of the blue. Now, the next word you learn as a Californian is the word epicenter. Everybody say epicenter. Okay. When you hear about an earthquake, the first thing you want to know is, where was everybody say epicenter. Exactly. The epicenter is the place where the earthquake starts. Here's our hope. We're going to all leave here. We're going to get on the buses and the vans. We're going to go home. And we are going to land at home, and we are going to be, everybody say different. There's going to be a contrast. Instead of light and dark and night, it's going to be before and that when we get off that bus, when we get out of that van, we are going to step out and we're going to be different. And the epicenter of the earthquake is you, where you live. It starts right there. So let's go ahead and do it. Ready? Get off the bus. There's mom and dad. Hey, there's your little brother, little sister. Hey, you've been gone a week. I have missed you so much. Come on, get in the car. As if your mom is from the South anyway. And so, you get in the car and your little brother, little sister, and you're tired. It's like, oh, long bus ride, and mom's, well, how was it? Did you enjoy it? Did you learn something? How was it? Your little brother and sister, what was it like? What was it like? What was it like? What was it like? And you're like, oh, I'm going to send you to be with Jesus. Knock it off. I'm just tired. I kind of have a headache. We didn't sleep at all, and all I ate was licorice all week long. that and gummy bears, and your dad's like, hey, come on now. I know you learned something. Tell us something you learned. Please. Dad, I'm tired. Okay, I'm just tired. Well, there better be something you learned because we paid so much for you to go to that thing. Tell me something okay, I learned to love people. Back off. Let's take that scene over again. So you get in the car and your little brother or sister saying, how was it? And you look at them and you realize, what would Jesus do? Dude, let me tell you how it was. I missed you. Really? No, but the guy who spoke told me to say that. No. You're going to say, dude, I thought about you. One day I hope you get to go because it was a time for me to really think about how to be a better brother. And mom and dad, how to be a better son. Because you guys are blessings in my life. At this point, your dad's going to pull over. Who are you? Think about it. Would your parents be totally freaked out if you came back and said, okay, if I was Jesus, how would I treat him? I'd treat him with respect. I'd treat him with love. I'd treat him with honor. I'd listen to what they say. Okay, I can't be perfect, but Jesus, help me, please, Lord, to do my best. And when I got home, and that night when mom makes the meal and she finishes it up, and I jump up and say, hey, let me, and start picking up the dishes. Right? Right? And your mom and dad are like, wow, we should have sent him a long time ago to that thing. So where does it go next? Sunday morning, boom, church. You come rushing into church, right? And maybe instead of just heading for the visitor donuts, hi, can I get to, instead of knocking that poor lady with the cane over, you think, wait a minute, poor lady with the cane. Do you know her? Do you know she's been a part of your church for 35 years? Do you know her husband died 10 years ago and she still gets up every morning? You know she's got arthritis. It's not even hard for her to get dressed. But she gets dressed and she comes because she loves that church. And do you know that she barely gets but a few bucks a month to live on? But you watch her when the collection plate goes by. And she puts a few wrinkled dollars in and she says, Lord, bless our youth group. Bless our church. Have you ever stopped? Have you ever stopped and gone, hey, I see you all the time and I don't know your name. You're a real example to me. Would you pray that I can be faithful like you have been? Do you know the difference you guys can make? Do you know the difference you can make in your preacher, in your elders, in your leaders, in your pastor, by just going up and saying, thank you, man, for opening God's word to me today. This thing that you said, let's just, everybody do this. Go ahead, do it. Let's just keep going. Okay, so what happens then? So what happens that week when you're with their friends and they go, oh, dude, man, there's this place. And hey, listen, I got a fake ID so I can get some beer and we can have what if you're the one that goes, hey, man, why don't we do it at my house? Well, there's no way we're going to get beer at your house. No, but I know, man, we'll have pizza and we'll watch. It'll be fun. Well, let's go do it. Or maybe we'll go see the Jurassic Park movie and say how bad it is. You know, I mean, we'll just, let's go. Let's go do something. Or we'll go watch the new this or the new that. Guys, I want you to think about a way that when you get home, hey, and what about that kid that lives across the street, or maybe his house is over that way and he's never gone to church. Maybe you see him on Sunday morning just, when you're heading to church, he's like doing nothing. What if you just walked over and said, hey man, how's it going? Hey, what are you doing next Sunday? Our youth group is having this cool thing. Would you come go with me? Oh, let's go ahead. Let's go a few months ahead and school. Where would the epicenter of the Jesus earthquake be at your school? Well, it'd start with your homeroom, wouldn't it? It would start with you looking for opportunities. It'd start with you walking into the cafeteria. And when all your cool friends are like, come on, sit down. Hey, man, I'm going to sit over here. Over where? And they see you head for that table. You know the table. Maybe it's the table where the kids sit who have trouble speaking English because they're brand new in our country and so they feel awkward. Maybe it's the table where there aren't many chairs because most of the people sitting there are in wheelchairs. Maybe it's just the table where the kids who nobody else says, come sit with me, sit. Satan will hate this. I say we give him a major bad time. I say we give him a bad summer. I say we give Satan the worst year he has ever had because the Jesus earthquake starts in every one of your homes and churches and then cities and then towns and then we go global. And the whole group said, everybody say, so what? So what? And then say, so this. One more time. So what? So this. I gotta quit. All right, listen. I have not thought about this in a while. I was like 12 and it was Saturday and I got hooked. Oh man, I got hooked on one of those dumb Saturday afternoon movies that as soon as you see it, you know what's going to happen. A mom with 2 kids, and dad's not in the picture, he's gone somehow, and mom gets cancer, and they're fighting the cancer, and the daughter's all sweet, but the boy is like, he's a teenager and having a tough time, and and he and mom aren't getting along, and mom's getting sicker, and you know mom's going to die. You've seen this movie, you know mom's going to die. But I found myself just suckered into it. I just kept sitting because the boy reminded himself of me. I was right at that age where I was kind of smarting off to my mom, and I was way too cool for school. And so when I watched this boy, I started rooting for him. His sister finally has this scene in the movie where they push him up against the wall and she's like, do you realize, Ben, mom is dying? Shut up, she may not. Ben, look at me, she says. She is dying. And you owe it to her to tell her you love her. Because she doesn't know right now. That's stupid. She knows I love her. Ben, I dare you. Be a man. Tell your mom you love her. I'm sitting there going, do it, Ben, do it, stupid. And so he goes down the hallway and he goes in the room. He sits down by his mom. She's watching something on the TV. She's got one of those scarves on her head because she's lost all her hair, and her eyes, there's circles under them, and you can tell she's not doing good. And I'm like, just say it, say it. And the kid goes, Mom, I need to tell you something. And Mom hits the mute and like, what now? And he goes, I just want you to know. And right at that second, an orderly comes in. I need to change the IV bag I'm sorry, am I interrupting, And he's like, what? No. And he runs out of the room. And you're like, no. He runs down the hall to the bathroom. So while the orderly's changing the IV bag, he's in the bathroom. And he's putting water on his face. And he wipes his face and he puts more water on it, wipes it, and looks up, and you realize the water's coming from his eyes. He's broken. He's crying. And he looks in the mirror and he goes, Mom, I love you. You deserved a better son than me. But you have been the best mom in the world. And I wouldn't want any other mom. And you got to know how much I love you. He wipes his eyes off and you're thinking, okay, you got it. You got this. You got this. He walks back down the hall and he's looking down. And you can tell like he's ready. He's ready. He opens the door and he walks in and he sits down next to his mom. She's laying in the bed and he doesn't even look up. He just starts in. Mom, I want you to know I love you. And I want you to know that you deserve to... Yes. She's laying still. Mom? She died while he was down the stinking hallway. And the movie director is so smart because he has the kid go, Mom, you were the best mom in the world, and I'm so glad I had you, and I wouldn't have wanted anybody else, and I just want you to know how much I love. And he takes her hand, and that's the last shot of the film. I'm sitting on the couch, and the movie finishes, and I'm turning it off like, oh man, if my sister sees me, I am so toast. So I'm wiping my eyes, trying to get it together and thinking, I got to get outside. I got to get outside. Men, they got to get outside, And I start walking through the den, and I hear this clinking, and I look over, and my mom is standing at the kitchen sink washing dishes from lunch. And I just ran in the kitchen and came up behind her and threw my arms around her, and I said, Mom, I love you. And you deserve a better son than me, and I just want you to know I love you. And she stopped what she was doing, and she turned around. She said, are you okay? And I said, yes, I'm okay. I'm sorry. I just need to tell you, Mom, I love you. And I never, ever want you to wonder when I'm stupid and I say dumb things. I totally love you. And my mom looked me right in the eye and said, do you mean that? And I said, yes, Mom. And she said, then do the dishes. And I said, Mom, I would love to, but I'm no, of course not. Of course I said, yes, Mom, I will gladly do the dishes. Would it have been the dumbest thing in the world after me hugging her and saying, I love you, to say I won't do the dishes? It's the same dumb thing that happens when we shout hallelujah and we love you, Jesus, and we walk out there and we won't love our neighbor as ourselves. Bow your head. God, this is it. This is the so what time, Lord. And so God, I want to ask you for these next few moments. God, I want to ask you to bless some young people that are in this audience who've never given their heart and life to you. I want to ask you to bless some kids who have never said, Jesus is my Lord, who've never been baptized into Christ for the forgiveness of their sins. Father, it's my prayer that even as the band is coming and going to lead us here in a moment, that God, you would break some hearts, and that we would stop just saying we love you, and we would do the dishes. That we'd stop saying we believe in Jesus, and we'd start treating our mom and dad like Jesus would, and our neighbors and our friends. God, we've got these coins that CIY gave us. And Father, it's a pity that sometimes it's almost like we get up and we flip a coin. What am I going to be like today? What am I going to be like at school? What am I going to be like with my friends? Sometimes it comes up on you. Sometimes it comes up just on being like the world. So, Father, please help us. Help us to stop flipping coins and instead to commit, I will love because Jesus loved me. Can you pray that with me? I will love because Jesus loved me. Father, for those of us who've got friends who don't know you, I pray that this coin will remind us to talk to them about it. For those of us who've got people at home that we've been doing some things we shouldn't be doing with, Father, I pray this coin burns in our pocket to remind us to go to them and say, hey, I need to apologize. I'm sorry. I didn't point you in a right direction. I pointed you in a wrong direction, and that's my fault. God, I pray that there's some people at our church who will see a contrast. And Father, whenever anybody notices it, may we all be smart enough to say, dude, it's Jesus. It's Jesus, because he so loved me. He showed me what real love is like. Father, may the needy and the hurting in our world, may the needy and the hurting in our city, in our school, in our church, in our neighborhood, see that it's not a coin toss of maybe yes, maybe no with us, that we've decided we're going to love like Jesus because he loved us so well. And one day, God, we will, because of his love and grace, be with you forever, and we will celebrate in a CIY move that will not end, and we will sing, and we will shout, and we will do whatever it is that you do when you're with you, God. But until then, will you help us to be more like Jesus tomorrow than we were today, until he calls us home. And in Jesus' name we pray, and everyone says, Amen. 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 Amen.